Connie said she's seen the presentations at committee, so if nobody else comes, then it's the Connie show.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. We're starting our second public participation session for District of Sechelt budget. We have 10 participants, including staff and council members and 1 member of the media in attendance. All the participants on the meeting today have seen the full presentation, which is available on our YouTube page. It was recorded. The slides are also available on our website. So I will pass it over to Director Douglas to do a brief overview of the operating budget items that were discussed at the last committee of the whole meeting, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Thank you, Carrie Ann. I'm just going to share my screen and have a second here. Okay. Okay. Last Wednesday we went over budgets for several areas within the district. The departments are included here. We did a quick overview of the general fund, corporate services, human resources, administration, communications, arts and culture, mayor council, finance, information technology. We have an area called non-departmental, and then economic development and the airport. In starting the presentation on last Wednesday, we did a quick overview of where we're sitting with the budget for the 2020. So this is kind of a first snapshot look at, we're sitting at a deficit of $732,000. And that's just, included in this budget so far are the increases to hydro, Fortis, fuel, a little bit of an increase for the professional development. We had budgeted partly for a chief building official last year, and we're having to budget for the remainder of the salary this year. Senior engineer, same thing. We had budgeted for a portion of the year last year, and now we're budgeting a little bit more for that this year. GIS coordinator, we had reduced that budget area last year, and now we're putting it back up to full time, which is where it had been budgeted for years. We had reduced the budget because of an absence, but we expect that to be filled soon within this year. The other thing that's included in the budget is wage increases tied to agreements. RCMP, the district has made a application to increase the district members from 10 to 11 to 12. And so that's an additional cost in the budget that's included for now. We also have future liability costs with the RCMP that was estimated by the RCMP given to us, and that's also included. Includes some one-time costs of $74,000. This is for a little bit of equipment that we would fund from the municipal side or from the district side. Which includes a drug lab that we can, that our members can do some testing with here right at the office. We've also looked at increasing the contingency from 75 to 100,000. For the last number of years, it was at 100,000 due to just trying to make the budget work next year. We reduced it down to 75,000. Solid waste, we're looking at increasing our service level there in late October, early November to having 3 streams picked up at the curbside. So that would be residential garbage, organics, and recycling. And so there is a lift in the budget for that. However, it's fully paid for by fees and a small transfer from a solid waste reserve. We have extra cleaning in our washrooms, and this is really due to COVID-19, and we do have a COVID grant that we'll cover that off by. New debt payments. This is primarily for a plotter and a dump truck. $20,000 per year increase to the budget. Revenues. New construction has been estimated by BC Assessment. They passed on their numbers to us. It would basically bring in about just over $50,000. I do expect that number to change a little bit. So this is just preliminary numbers at this point. And a small increase in our 1% utility operating fees. But this is money that we get from Fortis, TELUS, and Hydro. Okay, so I was just going to dip into the little departments. I don't know if we want to, does anybody have any questions, or do we have any new members of the public came in, or?
I have a question. The $53,000 for construction, is that new building permits, or is that tax? $53,000 in taxes would be because of the assessments?
Yeah, that's the increase in assessments due to new construction over the last year. Yes. So it's new tax money.
I don't see any hands up, so I believe you're good to proceed, Director Douglas.
Okay, do we have new members of the public in, or?
No.
Okay, so this is, from here on out is basically the same slides that we presented last week. And I can continue through them, or we can take a different approach from here.
If we have no new people from the community, so Connie has some questions. Connie, why don't you just unmute yourself and you can just ask your questions. Well, she's got one in the chat. She says, based on the 2021 budget proposals as they currently stand, what would be the estimated property tax increase that would be anticipated? We haven't actually identified what the budget will look like at this point, right? There's proposals being brought forward. We haven't even seen all the proposals yet. More coming forward next week.
Yes, we're next week.
Yeah, I don't know if we have a number at this point.
Yeah, it depends on what council wants to include into the budget. So right now, it's providing council with where we're at right now. Some of the things that are in the budget, we're going to cover off by our COVID-19 grant. So there'll be, some revenues brought in. And of course, we haven't gone through capital or some of our one-time or new ongoing items yet. So once we're through that and we get some recommendations from council to incorporate, then we'll be able to address a number overall. So this first meeting was really about department priorities, work plans, and service levels. And that's what the meeting next Wednesday will be about. The two departments that will be presenting next week would be planning and development and engineering and public works. We still have a couple of outside groups that are going to come in, the library, economic development, and tourism to come in and talk to us as well. And that'll be upcoming meetings. So
Dave,
I'll just,
Dave, are the RCMP coming as well?
yes, they will be coming. When, I'm not positive yet, but
Okay.
it's going to be at one of our next couple of meetings for sure.
Okay.
So I'll continue with a really brief overview of all the departments.
So Connie has a question here again. Just to cover the 732,000 deficit, what percentage increase would be needed if assessments stayed the same?
About a 7.5%.
Okay, thank you. All right, that's all we got so far.
Okay, so corporate services was the first department up last week. And the first slide just shows what they're responsible for. And I won't go through that in great detail. Special projects or priorities from their department include on-base implementation, the AAP, alternative approval process, renewal of the Sechelt Downtown Business Association improvement bylaw, and complete audit of our outstanding agreements and leases. Other priorities in the department included continue moving existing electronic files to on-base, training staff on, this is the on-base implementation. We're trying to move forward with the departments of admin, planning, engineering, which is a continuation of moving existing electronic files to on-base, train staff on using on-base, digitize a lot of our current files that are in paper format, digitize permanent records, and we're looking at doing this by hiring a consultant to help us through this implementation by using the COVID-19 funds. The alternative
Okay,
approval
Dave,
process.
before you go forward, Connie just asking how many departments are utilizing an on-base system now?
I would say there is for sure 2. Finance and administration are fully using on-base at this point.
So you guys are the guinea pigs.
Yes. It was a great process.
Mhm. All right.
You know, the whole aim here is to become paperless, and finance department is very, very close, so we're pretty happy. So the alternative approval process is ongoing right now for I believe another just over a week and a half, and then there'll be more reports coming to council, and the process will continue until we can borrow some funds if we're successful with that. The new downtown business or Sechelt Downtown Business Association bylaw. The current bylaw is in place for 1 more year, but a new bylaw needs to be approved by council next year for the 2022 tax year. So there's quite a process to go through to bring that through. We have ongoing agreements with different organizations, businesses, with regards to either leases or, contract. services. And so it's just an annual thing we must do, is to keep up on those and bring them through to council once they expire. And this is the corporate services department. It includes 3 people and is managed by the chief administrative officer.
Excuse me, Director Douglas, there's one more question about on-base.
Yes.
Just curious, what has been the delay with on-base? Implementation was starting in 2017 is the question.
Good question. I think the plan when I first got here was, and I've only been here a year and a half, was that the current staff levels would be able to implement it and load it, and with, you know, going back and taking electronic files and loading them up, and then taking paper files and loading them on, and then do your active filing on base as well. But from the finance, when going through and doing the finance departments, we didn't really have the staff that are working daily, although they can file forward with electronic documents, they did not have much spare time to go backwards and start looking at back files and loading those onto OnBase. And so, you know, we were lucky, we did have some part-time help that was able to get a good chunk of our department loaded. But I think the plan before I'd gotten here was that the current staff levels would be able to do all that, but it did prove that there was no way that somebody who's already busy doing their job could backfile 6 years of electronic files, do their current filing, and, you know, looking at paper files. It's just it's a lot of work, and we just took a little bit different approach, and we're on, and we're happy, and it's great.
I think there was also a little bit of staff turnover in that time frame too. So Doug Stewart was the chief financial officer. He was heading IT. He left. We had some turnover in planning, et cetera, as well. And anytime you have the senior staff who are actually responsible for a project leave, it takes some time to build up that momentum again, get them into the role that they're in, get them familiar with where we're going, what we're doing, before we can actually start moving that forward. So I think the two of them together caused some of that delay.
I agree. Thank you. So this is just a quick look at the department's financial, their budget for the 2021 in comparison with previous years and the current. So just overall, in the end, you know, a small increase overall for requirement from taxation, but the overall budget here is down by $20,000 from expense perspective. We're also budgeting less revenues here as well, a little bit. The next part we went through was human resources, and they're responsible for recruitment, human occupational health and safety, performance management, training, and organizational development, employee engagement and labor relations, and compensation and benefits. The work plan this year includes complete manuals in accordance with the WCB regulations, and this is under occupational health and safety, occupational health and safety training, necessary training for the outside crews and inside staff, keeping the district in compliance with the WCB standards, which, you know, change from time to time, so we have to relook at our manuals for when there's a change and make sure we train appropriately. And then, of course, with COVID-19, there's many related scenarios around the training that we need to provide or policies that we need to provide for staff. So, and then recruitment, up-to-date job descriptions and postings, standardized recruitment packages and rating scale. These are all priorities. Onboarding to have standardized forms and make it just a little more efficient for us when we bring in new staff. Additionally, we have performance management in human resources, which is tracking annual performance reviews throughout the year, review and implement attendance management program and succession planning, training and organizational development, management and leadership training, all staff personality indicators and follow up on training, and ongoing department specific training. Under employee engagement and labor relations, staff appreciation, which could include things like long service awards, staff appreciation and recognition, training workshops, promote team connection, wellness committee, annualized wellness initiatives, consider an increase to virtual initiatives, and lunch and learns, kind of like we're doing today. Compensation and benefits, implement and track systems between finance and human resources to efficiently monitor probationary dates, benefits, premiums, pension enrollment, and things like that. So this is just a breakdown of just the realistic portion of the work plan for the current staffing level, and this department is asking for an additional staff member, and so on the left side is the realistic work plan, on the right is what else could be achieved if we had a little additional help within the human resources side. So the ask here from human resources is an executive assistant to be shared with the CAO. The other ask is a OH&S coordinator. These two asks have not been included in the budget at this point. Council will be presented with a 5-year overall plan on staffing at a future meeting, and that's when we'll look at what we're going to add or what we're not going to add. Quick summary of their financial information. I can see I missed a column there. I'll add that in. However, the overall budget here, a bit of a small increase from 2020 budget to 2021, mainly due to some training and salaries and benefits. Communications department was up next, and communications department, they're in charge of obviously communications, community services, arts and culture, and support for council. Some of their goals and priorities for the year includes the goals and objectives from the 2018 communications plan, communications policies and procedures, internal communications, external communications, management of districts engagement policy, program and activities, reputation, brand and marketing, media relations, proactive issues, identification and management. Also in charge of social media, website, district app, visitors information center, crisis communications, and supervision of the community services, arts and culture, and council support. So the work plan for 2021 here is community engagement and review of the district communication plan, update the community profile, department videos, various engagement projects, which includes zoning bylaw, short-term rentals. Today is part of that event, the budget 2021 engagement plan. The boulevard up front of the district here in the water. Subdivision and development control bylaw. East Purpose Bay, Esplanade, possible transportation master plan. And of course, recycling and organics, which is coming up later in the year. Other things that have been asked for would be website redesign, wayfinding, sign replacement, and visitor information mobile unit. Community services really is looks after the facility booking, and which is, and the items that would be under that person would be the marketing, handle inquiries or viewings, booking, setting up contracts, invoicing, and refunds. Community services, other priorities or other functions that they look at is implement the safety protocols for all community facilities. That's really earmarked towards the COVID-19 that we're going through right now. Our facilities will have limits on how many people can go into them. We'll have limits on, how far you have to stay away from each other in those facilities, and then of course cleaning prior and after. Manage maintenance and improvements for community facilities, manage direct janitorial contract, liaise with community groups to organize community events such as Bright Nights at Rockwood, Christmas Parade, Winter Market. Manage Business Watch program, manage Sunshine Coast Community Task Force, and administrative support for community investment program. Community services, a little more on their work plan, review events, plan new events, such as a wine festival or winter market or Christmas event at Rockwood. Finalize setup of booking software, which we're in the middle of right now. Draft rental policies and procedures, operations manual for district community facilities, and off-coast marketing plan. They also have had put in an ask for upgrades to the community facilities that will be coming through the one-time and or capital presentations that will happen within the next couple of weeks. And we've also applied for a couple of grants there to improve our facilities at this point. Arts and culture, public art, festivals and events, Sechelt Community Archives, Heritage, and CIP grants and student bursaries. Under public art, civic art collection, so far we have 3 murals, 4 outdoor sculptures, 15 artworks at Municipal Hall and the archives, and 21 artist designed utility boxes. We also have street banners and mobile app in-person walking tour. Couple of new items that they would like to look at is a public art talk video series and a artist design crosswalks. Oh, those are coming this year, yes. Cultural and heritage community archives, Sechelt Community Archives, the Sechelt Historic Building Register, and restoration and adaptive reuse at Rockwood Lodge. Under festivals and events, we have festivals and event strategy adopted in 2018 that is being implemented or is implemented as we go forward. Summer events guide and illustration map, and grants, venues, and equipment rental. And annually we do CIP grants, student bursaries and leases. In 2020, we awarded 21 grants totaling $47,500, and we awarded those ones were annual grants, and then we have another little bit of money we set aside for what we call multi-year grants, and 6 multi-year grants were awarded last year for a total of $73,487. So under under the 2021 arts capital requests or projects, 2 artist designed crosswalks for Trail Avenue. So they would be right, I believe they're right downtown. One of them is right down at the corner at Trail Avenue and the Main Street. And the accessible performance stage at Hackett Park. So some of the other projects that are included with the budget is host of Canada Day, host of the Summer Music Series, host of the Sechelt Arts Festival. And they're also looking at drafting a festival and event bylaw, and looking at historical signs for areas within the district. Council support.
Sorry, Director Douglas,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. There's a couple of questions related to arts and culture, and
Okay.
if we also go back, there was one more about human resources.
All right, go ahead.
First, what are the locations of the new art designed crosswalks?
So I know for sure one is at the corner of Trail Bay and Calgary there. And I'm not sure if the second one's up the next street or will be included in that same intersection. But there's a couple there.
So you think it might be Dolphin and Trail maybe?
Yeah, maybe, or they'll all be right at that first intersection.
No, sorry to interrupt. One of them will be at Trail and Calgary, and the other one will be at Trail and Dolphin. And the artists have already been selected. The designs are complete. We are just waiting to install them, and then it will all be revealed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question is off-coast marketing related to district facilities.
I can answer that one too. Depending on usage of our community facilities, obviously we want to market our facilities to people who live here. It's our citizens who own those buildings. And we do expect that they will be busy once restrictions are lifted. We've got a lot of funerals and weddings and grandpa's birthdays to get caught up on. But following that, if we're finding that we have some gaps in the schedule, we will start marketing them off coast and trying to attract, board meetings and other events from off coast businesses and organizations.
Thank you. Going back to human resources, and I do see we have Lindsay Roberts, our human resource manager, on the line as well. What are personality indicators and why are they important? Did you want to take that, Director Douglas, or shall we ask Lindsay to?
Sure, Mrs.
I'm just trying to get off there. Hi, everybody. Yeah, it's a part of our my work plan for HR is to work on the culture within the organization, and so it is one way to bring people together, get to know our colleagues. There's been as everyone knows, some turnover in the last decade here. So a personality indicator example would be like the Myers-Briggs personality indicators, where you learn more about what you bring to the organization and how you work as an employee. And so it's the objective is to help us work more cohesively and to understand each other's strengths and challenges. Sorry, the sun is right on my face. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see any other questions at this time. If you want to resume the presentation.
All right, thank you. Council support. Council is supported by a executive assistant, and the priorities for this person is obviously council correspondence, council meetings and events, booking travel, council expenses, meeting notes, in-camera meeting agendas and minutes, internal newsletter, assisting with the community engagement projects, and assisting with annual reports. Additionally, the administrative also provides support for departments by other departments by reviewing the council reports, doing editing, presentations, and research. Also applies for grants and assists with RFPs, and is on the Joint Occupational Health and Safety Committee. So the ask from this department is a second administrative assistant, or no, a administrative assistant. This would be a unionized employee that would work within the department to help all areas, whether it be communications, council support, arts and culture, and community services, just to be able to manage better, keep up better, and keep on top of the workloads. So this is just a representation of the department. The yellow represents the new ask from the manager, and but essentially there's 4 people in the department, and they're just looking to add a fifth. And then a quick view of their department's budget. It's again small increase to this budget overall, mainly around salaries and wages. A few items have been reduced a little bit, but $15,000 increase to this budget over last year. And this budget area is communications by itself, and the second one is arts and culture. And at this point, this one's seeing a bit of a decrease overall of 58,000. However, there was a grant, the COVID grant was included in that last year, which isn't going to be this year. And so really small increase to operations there, just over $10,000. And mayor and council, they are the regulatory and budget. They set the regulatory and budgetary policies, strategic and priority planning. They provide the community leadership and participate in committees and public communication, and are the lead the intergovernmental relations. They are the top of our organizational chart, and we are here to assist them with their hopes and dreams for the community. And just a quick look at the budget here, a bit of a decrease to the budget overall. mainly within the professional development area. That's due to most conferences and a lot of the meetings that used to be held in person are now all done by Zoom or virtual. And so that's bringing down costs of either travel or costs of when you go to an event, you know, or a conference, the cost is a little less. So we're off to the finance department, and the functions that are included here are financial, our taxation. We provide the main financial structure for the district. We produce and prepare the financial statements, set financial controls, collections, billing. We do the statutory requirements that are held within the Community Charter and Local Government Act. And we cover the information technology for the district. So some of the things that are on our work plan for this year, what we'll call in phase 2 of on-base. This may be also incorporated into the bigger project, but for now we're making this a priority for taking any paper files that are in a filing cabinet or on the wall and scanning them and putting them into on-base. There's a couple policies and bylaws we'd like to review and rewrite this year. We want to have a good review of our accounts payable and payroll functions. The workload that both those functions are being dealt with by one person today, and they're feeling a little bit stretched for time. We have a financial software or a municipal software called VADM, and that houses all our not only our financial data, but also the taxation and accounts receivable and building permitting and many aspects to what we do here. And we're looking at getting additional training to optimize our use of VADM. Once again, it's ongoing, and the more we can get out of our software, the better we are from an efficiency perspective. Succession planning and some cross training. We're pursuing that right now, and looking at the workflow and the way we do our business here in finance, and see if there's any efficiencies that we can gain. So some of our priorities are focusing on the fiscal sustainability of the district, to ensure we can continue to provide needed services and infrastructure, building relationships with other departments and stakeholders, partners, creating efficiencies through technology and process improvement, mentoring and leadership development, and skill development through continuing education and training. So the finance department has had 2 asks for staffing. One would be one person to do accounts payable or payroll, split those 2 jobs. And just due to the workload that has increased over the years, and staff have really felt that a procurement officer could help us gain a lot of efficiencies in-house, especially, you know, with the engineering department, with the amount of projects going on right now, and well, projects we've had for years, just getting us through the purchasing process, and having somebody lead that would really help. So this is just a visual of the finance department. Once again, the yellows are the new asks. These are not included in the budget. However, we'll be coming back to council at a future meeting, committee of the whole meeting. And a quick look at the overall budget. This is where the district's contingency account sits, is within the finance department. Not that it's just the place that it sits right now. So that's an increase of 25,000. And then because we did cut back on our budgeting for professional development last year due to COVID, you know, we haven't heard which ones are going to be virtual, which ones are in person yet this year. Only the ones later in the year could be in person, but we know the ones up until August are all virtual. So we've adjusted that budget, and then just salaries, wages, and benefits. There's an increase. So information technology, another part of the finance department. So the workload or the priorities within that area are system documentation. Opus is a contractor that we have as our help desk, just ongoing management and providing support to them. Investigate virtual desktop infrastructure. The enhanced GIS data and documentation, security awareness, which is a big one right now. Infrastructure and governance, cybersecurity enhancements. Those last two kind of go hand in hand. Pardon me. Just with the people working at home, you know, we are really trying to make sure our system is locked down, so that nobody can infiltrate our computer systems. Probably been our biggest priority for last year and will continue to be one of our main priorities. CityWorks implementation, we want to continue with that. Software version upgrades to our systems. We have 5 corporate softwares, and they have to be, usually there's a release every year for each one of them. Relocate business continuity hardware to SCRD. So that would be our backups. We are looking to house them in a different, they're not in our building now, but we'd like to house them in another location. So we're looking at that option. Update hardware, including network storage and end user computing devices. We did receive a sizable COVID reopening grant last year that primarily is unspent. We had a few items be approved to be spent so far, and we'll continue looking at upgrades to our system here and utilizing those funds where we're allowed. And then the last one there, the council meeting room and Seaside Center audiovisual enhancements, once again, can be looked at from the COVID funds that we received. So from the ID department, these are the main 4 areas that these things would fall under. So a secure system, a reliable system, an integrated system, and an efficient system. So we have an ask here from the information technology side of a full-time technical support person to assist with the demands on the IT department. And they're within the red circle, that is the IT department. Currently, there are 2 people there that are budgeted for, and the yellow box is the new ask. And just a quick review of their budget shows a bit of a small increase here, or a bit of an increase here. And this is where we had reduced the IT staff person's wages from last year just due to a vacancy. And now we need to put it back in there this year. So we have an area that kind of houses our, we call it non-departmental, but includes as debt principal payments, investment income, grants and donations. It's really tracked by finance and reviewed by finance, but not really tied to a certain department. And so this is just a bit of a catch-all. You can see that there's principal, an increase to principal payments there, and that's due to the plotter and the dump truck that we bought last year by debt. And we think we're going to be pretty close to last year's number with regards to investments. And last year we didn't really know where penalties and interest was going to go, so we reduced that last year, and our actuals were actually quite a bit higher than what we budgeted, so we increased that budget. That's a revenue item from one year to the next. So in our economic development area, we have four areas that we've contracted out. We have the Sunshine Coast Regional Economic Development Organization at $87,000, Visitors Information at $50,000, Sunshine Coast Tourism at $12,800, and the Sechelt Downtown Business Association at $70,000. Now, although that's not a contract that we hold, it's we transfer them funds from the Sechelt Downtown Business Association improvement bylaw. So this is just a look at their financial area, but all of those are included within this area. Sechelt Airport, it's really aerodrome. The finance is the first contact for the Sechelt Airport. We have fuel services there. We have a airport terminal building that is a shared space. We have an airport manager on site. We've had several inquiries for leases up there, so we're working on those as well. And we've had a request from the manager there to put some money aside to clear the back fence, as it's we're getting a lot of growth coming through the fence now. And this is the budget area here, which includes, so there's a little bit of reduction in expenses, but that's really due to the lesser fuel that we're having to buy and obviously sell. So there's just a bit of an offset there to the revenue of sales of fuel and the costs of those sales. And you'll see that we put about $5,000 in there additional for the fence line. So this, the airport is, it covers its own costs. I wouldn't say it's sustainable at this point, but we're transferring money into a reserve each year. And so the intended reserve transfer this year is about just under $14,000.
And Dave, there's a question before you go on about the airport. This is from Connie. It says, with the improvements and runway extension at the airport, do you anticipate operating costs, i.e. maintenance costs, manager's contract, will increase? Is there interest from commercial operators to increase their use of the soon-to-be improved airport?
Good question. At this point, I don't think there'll be an increase in maintenance costs or management costs at this point. I could see in 2 to 3 years that there may be, we want to keep that facility up, and we need to look at increasing the maintenance levels there. I would say we are seeing a little bit more activity with regards to lease inquiries due to the upgrades. So we should see an increase in revenues down the road, hopefully. Commercial activity, not yet. We haven't had many inquiries on, let's say, air commercial activity. And that's and this slide is just showing where we're going to the next meeting. We have planning and development, engineering. We have RCMP coming up, library, Sunshine Coast tourism, human resources, a strategy coming up for council, and then off to new one-time and ongoing costs and capital. So that kind of outlays our next couple of meetings. And we'll do this basically the week after those meetings again. And that's all I had. So if we have any more questions, we can take some more questions.
Thank you. I'm not seeing any hands in the active participants. There are no, oh, there's a hand, Tom.
Hey, last year I asked about affordable housing and looking at putting a line in for trying to raise funds. And I'm just kind of wondering if we could have a look at that again. And I think I looked at $10 per every $500,000 of value.
Okay, I'll bring that to a future committee of the whole meeting for discussion.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We also haven't received any questions in the finance email box, and I haven't heard any other inquiries come across any of our other channels. People are welcome to send questions by email to finance@info.ca. We've got all of our budget information is available on our webpage at sechelt.ca/budget. Oh, there's a question from Councillor Toth.
Thank you again for the presentation, Dave. A question I forgot to ask last week, actually, is the STBA looking at increasing their levy as part of their renewal process? Do we know that yet?
I don't know that yet. Joanne is working on that with them. And I know that the bylaw has to be very specific as to what they're asking for, so that, and that's got to be at the time of vote. So if there is going to be an increase, it needs to be done before the vote. Yes.
They are in conversation with Joanne to see if there is some way to incorporate an increase each year, just a slight increase to take into effect, to account that costs do go up for them every year as well. They are starting with $70,000 again for the first year, and then they'd like to see the increase. So I know I got an email actually today saying, is there a way to do that? So we're looking at, like, they're not looking at 75,000 or 80,000, you know what I mean? But a little bit of an increase each year is what they're looking at. So we'll look at whether or not that's possible and how we do that.
From my experience with the renewal bylaws, all of that is possible. It just needs to be specified within that bylaw. And the other option is that they can always start with a high number, 75 or 80, and they can just budget and requisition for less.
Any further questions? So these meetings are primarily intended for people to ask questions. So if there's not many questions, we'll just continue to go through each PowerPoint presentation from the previous meeting to provide just additional place for people to get to know the budget.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no further questions, I would suggest we can sign off.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Thanks, Carrie Ann.